Hi, I'm Rick, and welcome to a Talk Tonic session here at Retail Now 2024. I have joining me today a friend of mine, Blake Gillum from DCR. He's president of DCR. Blake, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Rick, glad you had me.
Thought of a couple different topics where we could go, but one of them is I've talked a lot today with people who have said there's been a lot of disruption. There's been a lot of changes to our entire industry over the past decade, right? And some of the resellers, some people who thought they have a partner, suddenly the rug gets ripped out from under them and they've got to change, pivot, do something different. And so as a leader of a reseller business, I wanted to ask you, what do you do from a personnel standpoint, from a business standpoint, to set yourself up for success if and when these type of changes come along?
So I think the first thing you have to do is make sure that, first of all, you're not adverse to change, right? Because it's not going to slow down. It's only going to speed up. I mean, our industry is probably changing faster now than it ever has, right? And so I think what's really critical is that, it goes back to the people. People are foundation of pretty much any company, right? And sometimes we lose sight of this and we say, oh, it's the product, it's this innovation, it's this. But, no great company became great because of, one single innovation, one stroke of luck. It's these repeatable victories that you have over a long period of time. And when you have those victories, you have to have the right people to get those wins. What we kind of look at is a little opposite. Sometimes, the visionary says, hey, we've got to go in this direction. Let's find the right people to get on the bus. We feel like if you put the right people on the bus, you get the right team, you get the right leaders, you delegate to them, you give them the power to actually drive some change and be adaptable in your business, but you get the right people on that bus, then you decide where the bus is going. And once you've got the right people on that bus, now when change hits you, you can be more nimble. You can pivot a little quicker than going, wow, I just got hit by change. I need to go in this direction, but I don't have the team to get me there.
You make a great point, and it seems obvious, but sometimes the obvious things aren't obvious, right? And the thing I would look to there is, we all have that, like you said, the constant is change, right? It's always going to be change. There's always going to be something different. The people in the seats on the bus, you're creating culture to drive that, right? You're creating an environment where people want to be part of the business. They want to be part of the solution. I used a line earlier, you'll never find a customer that's happier than your happiest employee, right? And so having seen DCR for a lot of years, we see a lot of the people who are committed to that. Tell me how you go about finding the people and how you interview them and what it takes to get those people on the bus.
So, we all want experienced people, particularly in our industry, because, we are a very, niche industry, right? So experience is great. We love people who have a lot of program experience, POS experience, experience with some of our vendors. But what I think is most important to us is the things I can't teach a team member. We can teach you how to sell. We can teach you how to write programs. We can teach you how to install, deliver, support. What I can't teach is somebody who's driven, who wants to get out there. They want to do a good job. They want to drive the company forward. I can't teach you to be a team player. We don't need lone rangers. Our world is too complex now to have somebody who's just going to, go do their own thing and not help the entire team get to our goal. And then you got to have the right attitude. You got to get the right people. I can't have somebody who's going to have a negative attitude and bring the entire team down. If your leadership has a bad attitude, it's going to trickle down to everybody else, and that gets really toxic, particularly in a team environment, particularly in an environment where you're trying to adapt and get ahead of the rapid change you were talking about. So we really prioritize kind of those soft skills first. And if we can find that type of person, then, we've been in business for over 63 years. We've got the team to teach you these other pieces. Now, if you hit the lottery and you find those people who have those soft skills paired with some industry experience, well, now you're hitting a home run.
Yeah.
And usually, the next question we get is, well, how do you actually find those people? And we kind of feel like, extending that interview process a little bit really tends to help. Sometimes interviews are really quick and they're really, tell me about how you solved this, how you did
this. And they're
this.
one-dimensional, right?
Very one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And, what we try to do is extend that interview, get them outside of the traditional interview type situation, take them to lunch, watch how they interact with wait staff, how they interact with other people as you're going down the street. People always, the best someone's ever going to dress, the best they're going to behave is going to be in that interview, right?
Yep.
So if you can get them outside of that interview room and really watch how they engage, they can only keep up that, I guess, I don't want to say front, but that persona of their best self for so long before they
Yeah.
start to go back to their natural self. And if you can get kind of a glimpse and a good feeling about their natural self, you'll start finding, okay, it seems like they could be a team. And then you can also ask the questions that, and take your best guess. 9 times out of 10, you're going to take a shot on somebody. If they work, great. And if they're not, if you find out they're not a fit, be quick to find a new team member.
Yeah. This is Talk Psychology with Blake Gillum.
There you go, right?
Great stuff. Great stuff. One of the things as we look towards the future, this one will put you on the spot a little bit, right? We know we've got to get these people on the bus because they'll be able to navigate the future. The next 5 years, what do you think's coming? I'm a hockey guy, right? We need to skate to where the puck's going, not to where it's been. What do you see coming our way in the next few years? I mean, obviously you can just say AI and then we can cut this off because that's what everybody says, but love to hear your thoughts on what you see coming in our world.
I think our industry is going to be fundamentally changed over the next 5 to 10 years. I try not to get too far out when we're looking at our organization on how are we planning for this. Usually if we're looking at things that we're wanting to happen 5 to 10 years out, we're just researching them, keeping up with them. We're not actually making some plans on how do you, because
know what might be there.
Right. Because it changes too quickly.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in this 4 to 1 year range, really what we think's coming this way is the world is moving towards platforms. Right? You look at like what Salesforce did in their industry. All of a sudden they came in and they became the predominant player. I think what we're going to find is, and I know people are going to hate to hear this, but point of sale and the products that we know it are going to start to become commodities, right? They're there to collect data and feed it up into a platform. And this platform is going to manipulate this data and provide certain results, right? But there's going to be big players. You can't compete against the players who are building these platforms. This is big, big tech. So I think what we have to look at is because again, we've always been a really niche industry. How do we fit in and what can we build on to help play in that space? And I think that space is going to come in a lot quicker than we anticipate, where we will be probably focusing on building integrations to these platforms, adding value to some of the solutions that these platforms provide, and how do you interact with them? So, in those platforms are going to be things like, AI, analytics, those sorts of things. But I think looking at it as only that one thing isn't painting the whole big picture. Everything shows that the retail industry and a lot of other industries are all moving to cloud platform-based architectures. And that's going to be a world we have to figure out how to live in and adapt to. And it's going to have consequences for everybody. Hardware manufacturers, VARs, ISVs, we're all going to have to figure out how can we fit in this game that's being played with big tech.
That's what I think will be interesting. One thing that I see is, AI is so cumbersome to a piece of hardware, right? So if you look back, it was like software was ahead of hardware, and then hardware went way ahead of software to the point where, a Core i9 processor is not going to be overtaxed by what I do on my local computer.
Right.
But when you get into the AI side of things and processing, the question is that data going to be on site getting processed? Is it going to be in the cloud? Because jamming that much data up to the cloud, that takes a pretty big pipe. So
exactly.
Everything's going to have to kind of evolve to fit that. I'm going to wrap up here. I appreciate you, Blake. Thanks for coming on.
I sure appreciate you having me on your show.
Thanks, Blake.
All right. Thanks.